In the year 1878, having acquired the title of Doctor of Medicine from the University of London and completed a subsequent course for army surgeons at Netley, a newly minted assistant surgeon found himself assigned to the 5th Northumberland Fusiliers, a regiment then stationed in India. Amidst the unfolding Second Afghan War, the young doctor landed in Bombay, only to discover his regiment had moved through challenging passes deep into the heart of the enemy's land. With unwavering resolve, he followed suit, and after a journey fraught with perils akin to his fellow officers in the same predicament, he succeeded in joining his regiment at Kandahar, promptly commencing his duties. The campaign was a fount of honor and advancement for many, but for the young surgeon, it spelled only tribulations and calamity. At the Battle of Maiwand, disaster struck. A bullet from a Jezail rifle, forged in local hands, found its mark upon his shoulder. It shattered bone and barely missed a vital artery. Were it not for Murray, his orderly, and the man's selfless act of slinging the wounded surgeon onto a packhorse amid chaos, the doctor's fate might have been left to the unforgiving hands of enemy Ghazis. Pain consumed him, and strength dwindled as he was taken to the base hospital at Peshawar. There, amidst fellow sufferers, he rallied from the brink, finding enough fortitude to navigate the wards and even enjoy the warmth of the veranda. Then, enteric fever struck, an unspoken curse upon the British in India. This new adversary nearly bested him, leaving him a shadow of his former self, which prompted a medical board to send him back to England without delay. The troopship Orontes became his ferry back to health, and a month later he found himself on Portsmouth's solid ground, health damaged irreparably, but granted the leeway of 9 months in hopes of recovery. In England, bereft of family or intimate ties, and with a modest military stipend, he was as free as one could be. Driven by the magnetic pull of idleness, he gravitated to London. He found solace in a private hotel in the Strand, only to witness the dwindling of his funds with lavish and pointless expenditures. Concerned by the financial precipice before him, he came upon a crossroads: retreat to the countryside or scale back his lifestyle. He chose the latter, resolving to abandon the hotel for more modest accommodations. On that decisive day at the Criterion Bar, a familiar voice broke his reverie.
Whatever have you been doing with yourself, Watson? You are as thin as a lath and as brown as a nut.
Watson recounted his recent past, the tale as grim as the scars it had left upon him.
Poor devil. What are you up to now?
Looking for lodgings. Trying to solve the problem as to whether it is possible to get comfortable rooms at a reasonable price.
That's a strange thing. You are the second man today that has used that expression to me.
And who was the first?
A fellow who is working at the chemical laboratory up at the hospital. He was bemoaning himself this morning because he could not get someone to go halves with him in some nice rooms which he had found, and which were too much for his purse.
By Jove, if he really wants someone to share the rooms and the expense, I am the very man for him. I should prefer having a partner to being alone.
In the comforting ambience of a gentleman's club, soft chatters fill the air, accompanied by the clinking of glasses. We find ourselves in the midst of an enlightening conversation between two acquaintances over a glass of fine wine. Young Stamford's voice cuts through the tranquility with a statement that piques curiosity.
You don't know Sherlock Holmes yet. Perhaps you would not care for him as a constant companion.
Stamford looks expectantly at his companion, gauging the reaction to his veiled caution.
Why, what is there against him?
Oh, I didn't say there was anything against him. He's a little queer in his ideas, an enthusiast in some branches of science. As far as I know, he is a decent fellow enough.
A medical student, I suppose?
No, I have no idea what he intends to go in for. I believe he's well up in anatomy, and he is a first-class chemist. But as far as I know, he has never taken out any systematic medical classes. His studies are very desultory and eccentric, but he has amassed a lot of out-of-the-way knowledge which would astonish his professors.
Did you never ask him what he was going in for?
No, he is not a man that it is easy to draw out, though he can be communicative enough when the fancy seizes him.
I should like to meet him. How could I meet this friend of yours?
He is sure to be at the laboratory. He either avoids the place for weeks, or else he works there from morning to night. If you like, we shall drive round together after luncheon.
Certainly.
As they exit the club, and the din of London streets rises, the conversation shifts away from Sherlock Holmes. A hansom cab awaits them, and they soon find themselves on the way to the hospital. Stamford continues to provide glimpses into the character of the enigmatic Holmes.
You mustn't blame me if you don't get on with him. You proposed this arrangement, so you must not hold me responsible.
If we don't get on, it will be easy to part company. It seems to me, Stamford, that you have some reason for washing your hands of the matter. Is this fellow's temper so formidable, or what is it? Don't be mealy-mouthed about it.
It's not easy to express the inexpressible. Holmes is a little too scientific for my tastes. It approaches to cold-bloodedness. I could imagine his giving a friend a little pinch of the latest vegetable alkaloid, not out of malevolence, you understand, but simply out of a spirit of inquiry, in order to have an accurate idea of the effects. To do him justice, I think that he would take it himself with the same readiness. He appears to have a passion for definite and exact knowledge.
Very right, too.
Yes, but it may be pushed to excess. When it comes to beating the subjects in the dissecting rooms with a stick, it is certainly taking rather a bizarre shape.
Beating the subjects?
Yes, to verify how far bruises may be produced after death. I saw him at it with my own eyes.
And yet you say he's not a medical student?
Silly, no. Heaven knows what the objects of his studies are. But here we are, and you must form your own impressions about him.
The cab arrives at the great hospital. Its stone architecture looms over them as they enter. They ascend the stone staircase and navigate the long corridor. A low arched passage soon reveals itself, leading to the chemical laboratory, the sanctuary of the extraordinary Sherlock Holmes. In a lofty chamber, lined with countless bottles and scattered tables laden with scientific paraphernalia, a single student worked in concentrated silence. The arrival of new footsteps broke his focus, and he turned to greet them with a burst of ecstatic revelation.
I found it. I have found a reagent which is precipitated by hemoglobin, and by nothing else.
Dr. Watson, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
How are you? You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive.
How on earth did you know that?
Never mind. The question now is about hemoglobin. No doubt you see the significance of this discovery of mine.
It is interesting, chemically, no doubt, but practically.
Why, man, it is the most practical medico-legal discovery for years. Don't you see that it gives us an infallible test for bloodstains? Come over here now. Let us have some fresh blood.
A clear liquid was turned to deep mahogany with a few swift actions, precipitating a brown dust at the bottom of the glass jar.
Ha ha, what do you think of that?
It seems to be a very delicate test.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Holmes praised his own work, detailing its advantages over older methods. He boasted of its ability to revolutionize criminal investigations, illustrated by citing past cases where its application could have been decisive.
You seem to be a walking calendar of crime. You might start a paper on those lines.
Very interesting reading it might be made too. I have to be careful, for I dabble with poisons a good deal.
Changing the topic to the practical matters of domestic life, Stamford mentioned the reason for their meeting. Holmes immediately showed enthusiasm for the prospect of sharing a suite of rooms with Watson. He laid out his peculiar habits and preferences.
I have my eye on a suit in Baker Street. You don't mind the smell of strong tobacco, I hope.
I always smoke ships myself.
And I generally have chemicals about and occasionally do experiments. Would that annoy you?
By no means.
And the two men discussed their potential living arrangement and scheduled a time to view the rooms. As they departed, Watson couldn't help but express his curiosity regarding Holmes's uncanny inference about his time in Afghanistan.
How the deuce did he know that I had come from Afghanistan?
That's just his little peculiarity. A good many people have wanted to know how he finds things out.
Oh, a mystery, is it? This is very piquant. I'm much obliged to you for bringing us together. The proper study of mankind is man, you know.
You must study him then. You'll find him a knotty problem, though. I'll wager he learns more about you than you about him. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Watson's response was but a soft echo in the busy streets as he strolled onto his hotel, his mind alight with thoughts of the fascinating new acquaintance whose enigma he was now eager to solve.